Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Faithful to the Traitors, where we're discussing the UK Series 3, Episode 9. That's right, we need to do double figures now.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. So, I am Ben, and if I were to win the Traitors, would spend my money on trying to end world hunger, I think.
Oh, that's admirable.
Thank you.
My name's Alex, and I mean, if I was to win the Traitors, I would probably give a good donation to the local LGBTQ homeless charity in Glasgow and Edinburgh. I think that's what I'd do. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really nice. Nice dinner. Nice. Last episode, you said if Joe wanted to get in touch with us,
Yeah.
you challenged him.
I did.
Like a round table thing.
Directly.
Leanne got off and walked off, but Joe was like, okay. So he's got something to say.
Okay.
Well, you've all got such noble reasons. I would like to buy a house, so I'd like to do a lot more travelling, turn left on an aeroplane for one, sit in first class, buy my own boozer, run a pub, Peggy Mitchell style.
Brilliant. What a star. What a guy, eh? What a guy. I won. Yeah, I won.
Spend the money however you want.
I mean, you know, let's be honest. If he wins the money, it's up to him to how he spends it. But when you hear stories of like IVF treatment and, you know, giving to charity, Alexander had a beautiful one, his brother.
Alexander does have a beautiful one, yes.
Yes, Freddie wanted to give some money to his family who were in debt. I want to go on holiday and turn left on a plane.
Keeping it real.
That would be maybe the only time I complain about Joe this episode. However, no, I have notes.
Right. Okay.
The biggest note is that he survived the bloody murder.
Anyway. There's another possibility he may be murdered for next episode, so we can keep dreaming.
I mean, here we go. I must say thank you to everyone who got in touch about my rants about Joe. I did afterwards say to Ben, I said I think I went off on a bit too much with Joe, but no, everyone agrees with me. So, but I will not do it quite as harshly. However, you can get in touch with us through other means as well, not just commenting underneath the video. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can email us faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. As I say, you can comment underneath the video if you're watching us on YouTube. Just search Faithful to the Traitors podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a future episode. That's where you can see the comments with people agreeing with you on YouTube. So it's nice to be agreed with for a change. You can find us on X, and that is at Traitors Podcast. You can find us on Instagram and Threads at Faithful to the Traitors. We're on all of your podcast apps. Don't forget to subscribe on them as well. We are doing the American series. We still get asked. We are doing it. It'll be straight after the UK series is aired. So next week we'll be dropping the first lot of episodes. I know, we got to record there. I know.
Not 25 more names to learn.
Kate won. And if you enjoy listening to the podcast and you want to help us support the show and give Charlie some virtual tummy tickles, Charlie's our producer, of course. He's a cat.
Black cat.
I was about to say, before anyone gets in touch and says, pardon? You can go to buymeacoffee.com/faithful, and there you can buy us a silver bar. Just like...
Yes, just like. Who's done it this right? Right. Sarah said, excellent podcast. Very random theory here. Could Alexander and Charlotte maybe be brother and sister? Right, go on. How many times do we have to say this series?
There are no more brother and sisters.
No one else is related. No one are lovers. No one are sons and fathers or mothers.
That we've been told.
Uncles, grands, none.
That the producers have been making us privy to.
It might explain why she's really doing a fake Welsh accent.
What's happened to this accent?
They're both posh. I've not heard the Welsh accent.
I can't remember her ever
when she talks. It's never a Welsh.
Never a Welsh. I remember on the first episode she had a slight inclination of Welsh, but that's kind of just gone nowhere now. And in this episode as well, she said, "I'm a really good liar," and this immediately my thoughts went to, "You said you had a Welsh accent. You pretended you were Welsh." I mean,
she's a good traitor though.
She's an amazing traitor. Yeah, but I don't like what she's doing to Mina.
I know. Mina's the star.
A sister, and at the end of the episode, I was very worried. We'll discuss that. I
mean, you could say Mina is.
She is the mother I never had.
So Charlotte, rocky road here.
But
you're also a good traitor, so.
Yes, but not a good Welsh woman. Could another coffee? Thank you, Amy, who's bought us silver bars as well. They have said, love your podcast. Is it just me who is thinking it? hang on. Is it just me who is thinking
No,
it?
not so easy now when you have to read it out, is it?
Won't feel as cutthroat as a traitor getting to the end, as everyone doesn't seem as close to friends as the first 2 series, especially the betrayal last year. Hoping Mina stays in the game to the end. She's played an excellent game. I have to say, people have said, and I've seen it online, and people have got in touch with us as well, and have said that they feel like that this is the first year where they don't want the faithful to win, which is a very weird thing to be.
We're normally very pro faithful win, but this time, if Mina won, I'd be happy because these faithfuls are, well, they're verging, not quite there, but they are verging on Series 2 Australia.
Yes, they are, because they're not
intelligence.
But the funny thing
levels.
is that in Series 2 we still supported the faithful. It's just the traitor was a dick, and this time the faithful are much more difficult to get on with. I think people feels like the personalities of the traitors, the faithful, isn't as easy.
Well,
to
the
get along
personalities
with.
of the faithful are worse than like the most evil traitors.
Yeah. Apart
Especially
from
one
one.
Joe is the best.
I mean, Joe's just a heart of gold, isn't he? You know, he's a top guy.
I think that this season should be called The Dummies.
There we go. Ben's got the sound bar out.
We're nearly there. Nearly there.
Big shout out for Alexander. I bloody love Alexander. He jumped into a bush.
Alexandra is single.
I mean, I would, Alexander, if you want, get in touch.
Well, we have seen his dating
gmail.com.
profile. It's a lovely profile, lovely range of pictures.
I feel like you're outing him every time you do this.
Well, it was to a woman, so no, I wasn't.
no,
outing
as in outing that he is on a dating site.
Well, that's normal. He's
Alexandra is single.
Okay, fair.
he's allowed to be on a dating.
But I just
site.
feel a bit, I don't know, I feel a bit guilty. It's like a secret that he's maybe, I don't know.
About it. He's probably his DMs are full now. He's fine.
I
He's
doubt
reached
it.
the limits.
Think you can stop what he does? I doubt it.
Right. So Jane also bought a silver bar.
Thank you,
Is
Jane.
it Jane from Canada?
Could
Or was it
be.
New Zealand? Jane was in. What was she in? The English copper.
Oh, that was
The copper.
That was
Was
New
it New
Zealand.
Zealand?
Yeah,
Maybe
that was
it's
New
her.
Zealand. I loved
Who
her.
knows?
Oh my goodness! If I haven't emphasised this enough, please do watch the New Zealand series. Series 1 and 2 are gold. He's legally blind.
Right, I love the podcast. Always enjoy your discussions on the contestants' gameplay, especially pointing out all the mean girls, brackets, and conspiracy bros. I think someone else said this too. Well, this sounds like we're just bigging ourselves up, but we have to read every comment which is sent to us by a silver
This is
bar.
legally obliged. If you give us a silver bar, we read your comment.
I think someone else said this too, but your podcast deserves more recognition, and although there is Uncloaked, I like you guys best. It is a bit annoying when they say, stay faithful, as I suspect you did that catchphrase first, Ed Gamble.
We did.
For clarity here, I don't watch Uncloaked because we do this, so
Yeah.
I don't want to watch. I don't watch any other traitors anything.
So we don't want our minds skewed by what other people
No,
have thought.
I don't want to be copying Ed Gamble's catchphrase
Definitely
by
not.
accident.
You know. No, because you
Cook
said
it up a treat.
You said it in series
that
when we
good?
did the very first podcast of this podcast. You go all the way back to episode 1, series 1 of the UK Traitors. When we did it, you started because I remember telling you off. I said, "Oh, you, Bruce Forsyth," because that's what I said. And you started "Stay Faithful." So
That was before Uncloaked was even a gem in the BBC's eye.
it wasn't exactly. It wasn't a twinkle in their eye.
That's it. Not sure if you want to read this out, but I would love to know
But
what
you
you
do.
think. Well, we read it all out anyway.
You
'cause
read it
that's
all
what we
out.
are.
That's what we
So,
do. Well, you know, they do say that imitation is the hugest form of flattery. So if the
Not that we're
BBC,
saying they are imitating
well, you
us,
know, if
but
the BBC or Ed Gamble want to steal our ideas, then fine, because clearly our ideas are better than theirs.
Wow, okay. Sound like Joe.
Yes, I do. I want to turn left on an airplane. I'm only joking, but we're not attached to the BBC, so we can say funny things like that. Ha ha ha. We got another coffee as well.
Do you know what else we can say? Because we're not on the BBC.
I'm going to make sure that I verbally violate her.
That was a good season as well. I forgot that. That was Canada Series 1. We're doing the greatest hits today. It's probably because we've got very little to talk about.
No, there's loads to talk
Well,
about.
most of the episode was filled with charity and filler, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Joe-
Well, the episode had 50 minutes of filler, so we can too.
Joe looking around the room every time anyone said anything, which was half heartfelt. Yeah, did you not notice that? Joe looked around the room as if like looking
That's
for
when
an
Leanne,
exit.
his bestie, was talking.
Yeah,
wasn't it, I
and he was like
think?
that.
Or Francesca, one of the two, and he was not happy.
So thank you to Traitolytics.
Right, so it's another silver bar.
They are on X and Instagram at Traitolytics. And they have said, love the podcast, a great companion to any season of The Traitors, entertaining, insightful, and fun.
That's us.
He wants to remind us that he builds... Or
They? You don't
sorry.
know.
I don't know, of course.
God.
They build a simulator to see who is most likely to win the game. It plays the rest of the season 5,000 times after each episode. And they suggest that you check it out. As I say, Traitolytics. That's Traitolytics, Lytics, on X and on Instagram. And it is really interesting, actually, because you looked it up, didn't you? And
this won't be the newest one. So when you're listening to this, there will be an updated one, obviously. But this is the last one. But yeah, Mina is a favourite to win in the simulation. But are we already in a simulation? That's the question of this podcast.
Is it. Are we in the Matrix? Do you want to take the red pill or the blue pill, Ben?
Do you want to know who's in last place?
Joe.
Behind Lisa, Joe.
Good.
Lisa's dead, so...
She's dead?
That simulation didn't work very well, did it?
No.
Maybe you do 6,000.
I mean, it's a simulation, don't forget. So it's not real life like what we are in right now.
Does the
Isn't
simulation...
that right, Donald? And Elon.
Does the simulation calculate how often Claudia needs to have a fringe trim, though?
I mean, I feel like...
Every week, do you think?
I feel like that's up to Claudia.
Weekly
to
fringe
decide,
trim?
not a simulation. Don't
Okay,
you?
Maybe.
That's a woman's prerogative, in my view. How often you trim your fringe.
Right. Do you want to talk about the Traitors then?
I think we had better
We've gone
because we're
against our
11
rule.
minutes in. So, thank you to everyone who sends your comments and all that lot. So, anyway, who got murdered then? Lisa got murdered. That's who.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you want to do that already, dear?
Well, we've got to speed through this now, or else we're going to be here all
I have to
night.
turn this down because people complain that Scylla's too loud.
What's your name and where do you come from?
Lisa.
62. From Inspector Morse to Midsummer Murders, Lisa is obsessed with murder mysteries and reckons she'll be a dab hand at tracking down the killers in the Traitors. No, she wasn't. She actually befriended them. However, she worries that she'll have a target on her back if she reveals she's a priest, so will try to be, quote, the person who's there but doesn't get noticed much.
Well,
That didn't work, did it, when you pulled out your dog collar?
I was about to say, I mean, she did start off being unnoticed, to be fair, and then she panicked thinking that she was too unnoticed, and so then decided to tell everyone that she was a priest.
And then that was that, really?
That was the end of... Well, it wasn't the end of her game,
No,
but it kind of made her too faithful for her own good.
Because she said she couldn't lie to God, and then the next episode she
She
lied.
lied,
And then
yeah.
Charlotte was like, but you just lied. And it was all like, okay.
And the gasp from the group because it was the gunge or the molasses game, wasn't it? And she lied, said that I didn't put your name forward, and and the whole group went when she actually then got. But then that didn't change anything. They all still believed that she was a good traitor.
Fun.
I liked Lisa a lot,
Yeah,
and
she
in the
was
last
good.
episode, I said that she did a very good. She had a very good round table. So there's a part of me that thinks that because she was 100% traitor, that's why they got rid of her. But also, I think there's a little part. Sorry, faithful. But also, I think there's a part that she was very observant, and I think Mina and Charlotte were beginning to see that, and that was also a threat to.
Plus,
their
they
game.
had that whole shield thing, so they probably didn't want to risk it, did they? They just want to get these numbers down.
That's true. But when Joe walked into that door, my God, was I disappointed. I was really hopeful. I did. There was a little part of me that thought, I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to get rid of Joe, and they didn't.
No, he's still getting all his VTs. Leanne still woke up in a bad mood, I think. Not as bad mood as yesterday, the day before, but she's still a bit mumpy.
Yeah, I mean, she gets progressively worse as the episode goes on because
Spending too much time with Joe.
she's spending too much time with Joe. But she did her classic again of saying to people, "Come on, come at me. Tell me what's wrong. Tell me if you think it's me." And then Leon did. And then Leon got it in the neck and got attacked by her. And then she went round telling everyone...
Francesca.
Telling Francesca that
You were talking
Leon
about
was
me.
lying. Yeah, it was saying lies about him, her, sorry. And it went out of hand and it just was like... And again, another Joe moment. I'm not talking about Joe. Another Joe moment was like, oh, surprise, surprise. It was Leon. Like, all right, Joe. And that's because Joe got upset over the game because Leon didn't vote for him because he wanted the shield. Yeah. But Leon voted for Freddie. He didn't understand why he would do that.
Because he suspected Freddie. So there's the Joe sandwich of this episode. Joe noticed that Leon's vote for Freddie against him didn't add up.
Yeah, but it was incorrect because he then accused Leon of being a traitor, which he wasn't.
In Joe's eyes, you could see why.
I'd see nothing in Joe's eyes.
Okay.
Nothing!
Void of darkness. So we had a mission, which was to carry heavy rocks up a hill. See how easy that was, Claudia?
Sorry, I just read another
take 5
note.
minutes to explain the mission.
It was a simple game, so it was easy to explain.
All or
Take
nothing.
things up to the top of the hill. They tried to complicate it a little bit when they said all the heads match all the bodies, so you can choose a head in the middle plinth where you can win the shield.
Well, I'll have Alexander's head and Freddie's body, please.
I thought Alexander's body was pretty tight, to be fair.
He
was
made fun of. He said he was doing lots, wasn't he?
He was the most valuable player in that
Caring
game.
and kind Alexander.
And still, that wasn't good enough for some of them. Still wasn't good enough.
No, they're rolling their eyes saying, "Ugh, don't take Alexander's head up. He's not done it."
Well, no, that was Jake. And I
Drop
think,
it on the
to
floor.
be fair to Jake, I think Jake then had a second thought because there was a close moment between him and Alexander on this episode, and he discussed his cerebral palsy, and that was why he was having trouble with this task specifically. And it actually, and I did say this to you, I said this actually made me like Jake a little bit more, his more honest side, his less bro side.
see.
It was a nice side to see of him.
Joe could have done a bit of that around that table around dinner. Then he could have had a nice story, and it might have made you like him. But instead,
Wanted to turn left on a plane.
so we wait and hope.
Joe also did a very dramatic symbol of the cross and said, "Bye, Lisa," at breakfast. Something that if Kazim had done would have been accusational
Right.
for being a traitor. Just saying.
Calm down. Let's talk about Alexander, please.
I think we should. Because
he went
Alexander,
up the hill with Freddie as well.
He very much went up the hill with Freddie, didn't he?
He went up 3 times.
There's a few people
plus
who'd
his
like to
own
go up the
head.
hill with Freddie. Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
He carried Freddie's head, didn't he? In his own bare hands. Alexander jumps into a bush while playing badminton.
Didn't jump, he fell into one trying
He
to hit,
didn't.
hit
That
a
was
ball.
a deliberate jump
It
into the bush,
wasn't.
but he's a legend for that. I love him. Alexander is my absolute king, and I want him to win.
Yeah, they played a bit of badminton, wasn't they? It was Leanne, Alexander. Although I think Leanne was annoyed that he was on the same team as her, and it was against Charlotte.
No,
so.
Leanne was fine during the badminton
she doesn't
game
like him, does
because
she?
that's when there was a discussion.
She's like friend zoning him, and he's just like hanging around,
please, being a bit pervy, like
jumping up and down.
Please be my friend. Because that's when Leanne and Charlotte had their 1, 2, 3, say the name, and they both said different names, and then Charlotte was like, "Yeah, I was going to say that too." I love
She
that
did
moment.
say that. She did say Francesca
No, she said
to Alexander before they went to badminton.
yes,
that
but
was
still,
pre-match,
but she-
not after match.
Yeah, but Charlotte's pre-plan was that she was trying to already plant seeds that it was Mina.
No.
So Charlotte is playing a dirty game against Mina, and I'm not very happy about that.
You can't blame her though, because there's never been a traitor who's actually nice like Mina before. This is the first time, but unfortunately, the sisterhood has ended because Charlotte doesn't trust her.
I
And
generally-
then it cut to Mina, and she was like, "Yeah, I trust her."
Yeah,
It was
I
like,
know, I know
That's
that-
always the worst. This is normally what happens when it's one faithful, one traitor, but it's 2 traitors, and now I feel bad for a traitor. So it's just
But this is it. We're
confusing.
taking the traitor side more. They've got the more interesting arc in this as well. Again, for the weirdest first time. So in the game, obviously, someone can win the shield, and before the game started, there was a little bit of a hustle bustle about who should win the shield.
you know
Joe
who was annoyed?
wanted it. Joe was annoyed.
Joe and Leanne were annoyed because no one would they wouldn't discuss it now and work it out.
Well, it was because Joe wanted it, Leanne wanted it, and Freddie wanted it. And then when the game started, Joe, in his normal ignorant self, because he can't see hypocrisy in the face, decided that he would shout out in the loudest voice, "We'll see who the real game player is, shall we?" About the person who puts the thing on
And
the
then
head.
you
As
shouted
he's-
back in the loudest voice at the TV, "It's you.
Yes.
The cooler's inside the house." Joe. Lovely Joe. You're making brilliant British television.
Well, you're making a silly 40-year-old white man very angry for no reason whatsoever.
Well, he's doing his job then, isn't he?
Yeah, I suppose that's
As
right.
the villain.
Freddie
yeah.
won the vote eventually, though.
He did. Thanks to Leon voting for Freddie, not
Yes.
Joe. Because he didn't realise that Joe was in the vote, apparently.
I mean, that felt a bit conspicuous as well, didn't it? That was a bit suspicious. Surely Leon heard people voting because they were really
Leanne
quite
took her own head up as well.
up where?
Up the chuff hill.
Yep.
She brought her own head up, and that upset Francesca because Francesca brought Joe's up and Joe brought Francesca's up. It's like, well, what's the difference here,
I know,
really?
what's
You're
going
both
on?
as slow as each other. Just take your own.
Jake took Alexander's, despite not wanting to take
Yeah, after
Alexander's.
someone dropped it off.
Yeah, someone dropped it off when no one really knew why.
See, that's just so mean because he's basically the golden retriever of the
Yes,
series.
yes.
And it's like, why are you being mean to the golden retriever? He's running up and down the hill with his ball, dropping it, throw it for me again, and then no, just drop it halfway.
And also, again, God, why does all roads lead to Joe? Maybe
I
it's
don't
just
know. I think you're obsessed.
maybe it's Joe
actually.
bias in my head. Maybe I do fancy him. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem.
See, you were saying Dan and Joe had this thing. It's now Dan's gone. Now you
It's
obsessed
me
with
and
him.
Joe, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Maybe
Lives
I
in
should
your
give him
head
a call.
rent-free.
Maybe.
No, I wouldn't, because he's blocked you.
Joe mentioned at the roundtable later with regards to Alexander's effort in the game, which was pretty much 150 billion%, not that there's such a thing, that he was suspicious of Alexander because of it.
I know,
So you were
see-
working so hard in the game. I'm suspicious you were doing it on purpose as a traitor. It's like, Joe, for crying out loud. You were saying that you wanted people to earn money. You were saying, like, what's the point of earning all the money if I can't cash it out? I need the shield. And then complaining when someone's working on your behalf because you can't take 3 torsos up to the top of the hill because you're more concerned about who's playing the game because they're taking their own head. That you're now complaining that someone taking...
I know, and it was really weird around the round table because it's like you're just not helping yourself with any of this.
No.
Because like Alexander literally replied like, well, I did it 3 times and then did this, so being tied was a genuine excuse and a reason. And he just rolled his eyes. It's like, that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really annoying because he's not helping himself.
He
So
doesn't
I'm
see
not
what's
here
in
for
front of his
slander
face.
of Joe slander, but he just doesn't help
It's
himself.
not slander. Slander's when we're
I
making
know,
stuff up. This
that's
is
what I
stuff that's
mean.
actually happening in the blooming ecosphere of Joe.
I know. It's very irritating.
He's so sycophantic about blooming Jake and Leanne, and he just doesn't see anything else. He's just obsessed. It's like, it can't be Jake. I
wish it was
can't
one
be
of
Leanne.
them.
Leanne's even starting to suspect Joe now. No, Leanne's starting to suspect Joe, which for that moment I cheered. I was so happy. Finally, crying out loud. I know Joe's not a traitor before anyone says anything. I understand Joe's not a traitor, but there's always one every series where you just need to get rid of them because they're not helping in the game.
I do want him to be banished though, not murdered, because it would be funny.
Oh, 100% I want him to be banished. But if he gets murdered, it's a...
Yeah, we'll take the win. 'Cause
It's a
there's
fine- yeah.
Claudia did say there's only 2 round tables now, so it's a fine line.
Well,
to,
no, it's the
do
last
this.
2 round tables where you'll find out if they're a traitor
before
or
they can
faithful when they
say.
finish the game. So yeah, Freddie got the shield then after Leon voted against Joe, which upset Joe, blah, 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 Joe.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say on the matter. I've turned my page.
What does that
mean? I've finished. That's all I have to say. My Joe notes
the
continues
end,
on to
is
page 2. Genuinely. Maybe he is living in my head rent free. Genuinely terrifying.
Well, maybe you should focus on someone else for a bit.
Have you ever seen the episode of I'm Alan Partridge when he visits this guy? This guy helps him out, and he doesn't realise that the guy is like his number one fan. And he visits his house and he sees this room and he switched the light on. And every single wall is covered with Alan Partridge's face, and he's got an Alan Partridge tattoo on his body. That would be me in about 6 months' time. I'm telling you, with Joe.
Right.
So, oh dear.
Let's not talk about Joe now.
Yes,
Francesca got a lot of heat on her.
she did. Really did, didn't she?
I mean, it's either Charlotte, Francesca, or Joe. They're all such faithfuls. It's one of you. And they picked Francesca this episode.
Jake also said that he believed that Mina and Charlotte are the only 2, and Joe are the only 3 people who he can trust and are definitely faithful.
Yeah, wow.
So Jake, the blooming traitor finder, is not doing such a hot job anymore, is he? His traitor dar
He
is
got
doing
one.
not
He
so
won
well.
a bit of luck for where he thought Linda looked a bit suspicious
Yeah.
at one bit, which she said she didn't. Who knows the truth with Linda? And like that's just going to show. He now trusts Mina and Charlotte the most. So
Jake said to Frankie at the round table that when he spoke to her in the last episode, because they spoke to each other in the kitchen 1-to-1, and he said his observation was the same as what he saw with Linda, as when he outed her or confronted her about it, that she had some kind of glint, some kind of panic in her eye. And he saw
never
that
seen
with-
panic like it. She was literally there, like, well, I was just having a cup of tea. I think it's like I don't think there was any panic.
She said something
Jake.
really cryptic and weird, like it's like I've just got panicky eyes, and then she said that her eyes darted around the room, like she was deliberately putting it on at that
like
point.
Tanya Turner from Footballers' Wives.
Like Tanya Turner, or like Alexander during the deathmatch game when he had the 2 cards halved up to his hat,
That was very funny.
like that. That's what he looked like. She looked like.
He's our
then.
winner.
I want Alexander to win 100%. He's the only faithful I love. I just adore him.
I know. The faithfuls that I like is Alexander and Francesca. That's the end of my sentence.
I don't mind Freddie.
Freddie's okay, but he's always in the drama. Well, he's a political student on the Tory side. Yeah,
He does sniff a Tory a little bit.
he's always in the mix of where the name drops. Like he was there when the thing with Leanne and Leon happened. He was there, and then she stormed in and confronted Charlotte and Francesca, and they were like, "We weren't talking about it, no." I was like, "Yes, you were, you bunch of bitches." But I don't know. Freddie always seems to be there when, like, I don't know, some stirrings
trouble
happening.
brews.
Yeah, so
Lucky bitches.
I'm not too sure. Plus, he has loads of fan cams made about him on TikTok.
Well, that's
so
not his
he doesn't
fault.
need me as a fan, does he?
That's not his fault. Well, then that's
Although
true.
I've seen
That's
a few
true.
Alexander ones now,
Ooh.
where they start off with his backwards yodeling opera, and then it flashes into all his like sexy bits.
Sexy bits. It's
That's my For You page, everyone.
They should do that at the end of every episode, like when they do the eviction or the banishments and the murders of the traitors. They should have Claudia walk on and say, "Here are your sexy bits." Then they just show all the fan cams from TikTok.
Maybe that's what they do on Love Island.
I
You have
would
to ask
know.
Ekin Sue.
I was going to say I could always get in touch with our best friend.
She's
Ekin
on All
Sue.
Stars.
What, the show that she doesn't want to be associated with anymore and hates that people kind of link her to it all the time?
Yeah.
It's funny for Ekin Hoo.
Ekin Boo Hoo. Yes.
So
Sadly-
who else?
Sadly left the Traitors US series 1
On,
or 2,
on another
where it was
damp note, she seems to have some kind of way of doing exits, doesn't she?
coming across really horrible on reality shows. Very odd.
Leon didn't win any fans, did he, at the round table this time around? He
No.
went in there saying, "I'm going in fighting." He didn't really fight very much, I thought.
And every time, the whole series, all he says is, "I'm just doing it for my kids and family." It's like, well, what does that mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean, Leon? Like, you've said this about 7 times now, and it's just like, well,
They want to go to the Willy
you're a
Wonka
traitor.
experience, don't
Let's
they?
vote you out. It was a bit like, really? You're going to go in fighting? I'm going to bring it all to round table? Like, we haven't done anything. And he didn't really do anything at round table apart from, what did he do? Bring up Francesca? I can't remember who we brought up. Leanne.
He apologised to
I don't know.
Joe for not voting, and then he said he thought
That's
it
his
was
first
Frankie.
mistake.
I know, I wouldn't apologise to him. And then he apologised to Frankie, saying about his observation of her not for voting with the crowd. He mentioned that she votes for the crowd, and she was like, "Well, that's because I come in here not really having a clue who to vote for." Which I think, again, everyone's kind of sympathised a little bit with her on that
Well, it's
one.
because it's right. And then she said, the one time I did do something, it was Alex, who I really liked. And then he went.
Felt really
But
disappointed.
Mina got a little questioning as well for the first time. Charlotte nearly shat herself.
She proper did, didn't she? That was hilarious.
It was
Who
really
it?
close to coming up to being like, because I think Leanne said, your name's been coming round.
Yeah.
And Charlotte literally shat herself, and she was thinking,
Who?
But then, of course, because Freddie's in every bloody conversation, Freddie was like, "Oh, yeah, I said that." So Charlotte didn't need to admit it, but
also
it was close.
Also, Mina realized, kind of linked it immediately to Anna. So before there was any time for anyone else's name to come out, she just immediately said, "Oh, you're talking about the Anna thing, aren't you?"
I'm
So-
wondering if the next episode, if Leanne is going to tell Mina that Charlotte said her name. Because they're quite close, Mina and Leanne, aren't they? So
That's true.
I think that's the way that it could come out, where the traitors, she'll know that Charlotte is actually not part of the
I think it
sisterhood.
depends. I think it depends on where, because Lena, Leanne, we could call him
Hashtag
Lena. To be
Lena.
fair. Hashtag Lena. Leanne is like now leaning toward Joe, but Joe and Jake had a little conversation after the round table, and they were starting to go toward Mina, weren't they? They were kind of pushing Mina, and we know their influence
And
can
Freddie
be quite.
kept saying Mina, it's Mina, definitely Mina, yeah.
In fact, I think it was Freddie and Jake actually, not Joe at all. I don't think Joe was involved.
No, it was Joe. It was Freddie said it to Joe round when they were all leaving
Oh,
the
okay.
table.
So it wasn't Jake at all. It wasn't Jake.
I think Jake was there like in the hallway afterwards. There's so many clips.
It's tough to keep up, isn't it?
There's all these
so
men,
many fast cuts.
all these tall men to know what's going on.
all these men. So it depends on the influence with Leanne. I think I don't know if it's. I don't think we're at the point where it's useful for Leanne to tell Mina exactly where she gets the source of her information from.
No, but,
But it was a weird move by Charlotte to have that
Leanne
conversation.
says she likes everything done out front and take head.
Well,
on.
until someone
So-
does it to her, and then she's like, "I don't like it. I don't
she
want to
might,
know."
She might say to Mina, by the way, the name who put your name out wasn't just Freddie, it was Charlotte too. And then Freddie would be sat in the corner and be like, "Go have a word with her."
They can overuse that sound effect again, can't they?
Yeah. Do that all the time.
It was Charlotte. Shung.
So
But yeah, poor old Charlotte. She's getting into trouble, but of her own making. Let's be honest.
Charlotte's fine. She's doing a good job. So Leon did go.
Leon did go. Frankie was basically, it was between Leon and Frankie, and it was down to one vote, and the final vote was from Freddie. Is that right? Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you. So I just needed you to confirm that.
It was.
And Leon got 5 votes. Frankie got 4 votes. Frankie, can I also just bring up, Frankie is adamant that she thinks that people are deliberately keeping her in the game, which is why
That's what all of them keep saying. It's really annoying.
Yeah, I know, but it's like it's. I feel like she's the only one who's she's the only one putting a question mark on Jake because of it. So
he said, two traitors.
So I thought I'd bring that up.
It's almost like the beginning of this series, we were a bit worried that the cast are now so aware of the game. Like, they know how to play the game, they're really aware of it. But it's actually been like a detriment to the Faithfuls because everyone is so aware that they're now just voting off Faithfuls non-stop in like a weird role reverse of what should be happening because you know the rules. It's really weird. It's because they know it too well.
Yes.
They're like triple... Instead of doing a double bluff, it's like a triple bluff on everyone. So then they just vote out traitors. So it's really weird.
Sometimes it's not so good to have too much information going into the game. Being a bit more blind to it is a bit more easier to play.
That's why they're all coming across really like, weird and like hyped up.
The interesting thing I've found also is that this is the first UK series. We've always been quite proud of the UK lot because other than New Zealand, who tend to do quite well,
highly intelligent
nations. Sorry, America, Canada, and Australia. We get to see the Irish series, but I'm sure they'll be just as hot. But the UK version does tend to get traitors out quite well, and so there's
rational
a constant
as well.
It's rational, and there's a constant conveyor belt of new traitors coming in. Like I think in the last series there was like 6 or 7 traitors at the end of it, and this series we've only had 4, and it's really really weird that they keep missing traitors.
That's what I mean. I think they're all so aware of the game that in a weird way, for some reason, it's making them not get them. It's really weird.
And it's weird because they like their emphasis on, they did it this episode as well, on Jake, like having got Linda out. So they rely on Jake a little bit. And they even said around the round table, was like, you know, you're like our golden boy. And Jake liked hearing this. But like Jake's not really contributed anything really since Linda, other than a few theories here and there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just weird.
And really, getting Linda out's not like Nobel Prize winning, is it?
Not really, unlike her Oscar winning performances.
Oh yeah, many.
She was fantastic.
Right, so before we run out of time then.
What's your name and where do you come from?
Leon. 40. This is very short. Leon is a Gemini. What are you saying?
I was just going to say, I feel like outing their age is a bit cruel.
Well, they give the info. I'm just reading it out.
Fair.
East Midlands. There you go.
When they've told his location, now people are going to find him.
Quote, I can be like a smiling assassin. He enjoys breaking down stereotypes through his good listening skills. Quote, I know that I could be friends with someone and they might have to get thrown under the bus because ultimately my goal is to win and provide for my family. I didn't mean to laugh at that, but I would say earlier he kept talking about his family. So
pretty much an episode wouldn't pass when he hasn't mentioned his family at some point.
I'm sure his family are proud and he had a good time. Can't buy this experience.
I think Leon basically gave up. I think his final bit before the round table was almost him trying to encourage himself to try to fight for the round table. But I don't think he cared. I think he wanted to go. He was. You could tell he was tired. He was tired after.
Let's get back to his family.
He needs to provide for his family, and he was tired from the death game, wasn't he? I think from that moment, I think he was exhausted.
That's true.
And he kind of stopped trusting anyone. So actually, the irony of it is that although he said he was going to throw people under the bus, he was ended up being the one
Lots
thrown.
of calories burnt, lots of people tired. Obviously, Alexander was more hyper afterwards than before.
He was still very full of energy.
He could have done a few more hill runs, throw the tennis ball.
I'm sure he goes in with electrolytes in a little flask and he's like sipping them as he goes in.
That's why he was so excited at the card game. Maybe he wasn't nervous. Maybe he was just really, really excited. Right, so we have possible murders as well. They're not going to recruit. There's no
We're not going to talk about the dinner. I suppose we have, haven't we?
They had dinner and they talked about what they'd spend it on.
No surprise, which was surprising.
I know. I thought there was going to be like, I don't know.
And Claudia was almost telling them off and not being grateful.
I know, all of them were like, really? Now?
Yeah,
tonight?
really? Do we have to?
It's been a really long day.
You need it. Yeah. You will have a dinner.
They were all tired from the mission probably and they just wanted to bloody go home. They're like, can't be bothered. Just vote me off and let's go. That's why Liam was off.
Claudia didn't even bother staying for the
They had to get changed
afterwards.
as well. It's like,
that's what I mean.
I couldn't be bothered.
Like, so presumably you'd have a shower. You know, it's a waste of time and energy.
Yeah. Just for a bit it was very letters from homey. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So
for a show like this, you don't need stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't care what you're going to do.
It did make Mina feel a bit more guilty about having to murder someone. She said after that dinner, after hearing everyone tell their stories, it's a bit more difficult.
But how guilty? Because what was their decision?
Well, one of the bros.
To murder someone.
Yeah, of course.
So-
So I suppose they could recruit.
Not that guilty.
But I do have to say, I agree. They both agreed that at this part of the game, getting numbers down is now the important part.
And they're not really
100%.
at the top of anyone's list. So yeah, keep
Nope.
getting them down, especially Joe, who is up for grabs. No
He
shield.
is.
So
Whoop, whoop.
he's one of the options. Jake's an option. And
The bros, Leanne.
Leanne.
She's the honorary bro. So Jake...
They're not going to get rid of Leanne, though.
No, well, Jake...
I think it's going to be Joe.
Because he was clearly a faithful, and they said he's dead weight. Joe, because he's set on Alexander. He's obsessed with Alexander. He gets
You can talk. Alexander, you're obsessed with Joe.
Yeah, but Joe does... This is another thing Joe does. He gets obsessed with one person.
Hyperfixates.
And yeah, big time.
Well,
There you go.
type of analysis we cover here.
I hyperfixate.
Faithful to the traitors.
Yes, and Leanne, because she's convinced it's not Frankie, and I think they kind of want people to think it is Frankie.
They'll be silly
Frankie.
to get rid of Jake because he's just said the two people he think are most faithful is Mina and Charlotte. I don't know if they know that, but maybe they might have a hint of that. I don't think they'll get rid of Leanne because Charlotte's close to Leanne and Mina's really close to her.
Joe. The only decision is Joe.
The maths is adding up.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
As always, I put on
Nice treat to end the week on, wouldn't it?
What's that?
Be a nice treat tomorrow morning. End the week on Joe murdered.
There's no more episodes now till Wednesday.
There's one tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Saturday.
Oh God. Oh, so I have to wait till next week.
Yes.
Fuck's sake.
God almighty. We're a professional podcast,
I don't know
everyone.
what day it is.
That's why when you said that,
Oh,
I
yeah, it's
thought,
Saturday
what are you
tomorrow, isn't
saying?
it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was going to be an episode tomorrow.
No.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Well, you're going to have to wait 4 days.
Well, I'm annoyed now. Just now I was really happy that we'd have a nice treat to end on with Joe being killed. No, we're not. I have to wait.
Again, Joe's ruined it for everyone.
Joe's ruined my
our
weekend.
yeah.
But I didn't know what was happening.
On our X at Traitors Podcast, we always put a poll. We don't always actually. We just did it this time as well. We put a poll at the end asking people who they thought was going to be murdered, either Jake, Joe, or Leanne, and the winner was with 47% from the votes. It was Jake. So they think Jake's out. And there's a couple of comments as well. At Truly Faithful _ said it's a tough one, but I think Leanne. Jake and Joe aren't looking in the right directions despite being seen faithful, so leaving them in at the moment is the safer option. And at Jamie _BK says Jake's likely to vote for Frankie again, so they'll kill Leanne. So actually...
Yeah, I mean, to keep Joe in, it does make sense, but sadly, because he's not looking at either of them, but still.
Now, at the end of the episode, because they were doing a coming up, and I wondered why you were so surprised by this, because they always do it at the end of the set of 3.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I normally run off before the credits.
I know you do. I'm brushing my teeth. And I'm like, all right, then I'll sit with the cat. There was a weird thing, a statement, not a thing, a weird statement said by Claudia Winkleman. And I would like to know what you think this might mean.
I don't know.
Someone is going to have an extraordinary power in the game. Now,
That could change the whole game.
that could change the whole game. Do you think that someone might have a double vote at the round table?
That's not extraordinary.
Ooh,
Although
what
they have
is
done that on another
extraordinary
series,
then?
haven't they?
What is extraordinary then?
Don't know. Be extraordinary. It'd be like revealing. I don't know. You can't really reveal a trait. It'd be like a power to watch someone else. I don't know.
You said
Not sure.
reveal. You said
Something.
revealing something. What about if, because they said after the next two
Revealing
round
what your
tables,
accent is.
it could be, yeah. Charlotte, are you Welsh? No. What?
Fozia can't believe it.
Maybe because they said after the next two round tables, you won't find out who's a traitor or faithful after at
Or maybe you'll
banishment.
get one chance to ask one person who goes.
Maybe one person gets to ask, but they're not allowed to reveal what they find out.
Or they can just lie as well. If like Mina wins it and she reveals, oh yeah, Leanne was a traitor.
But that's my point. So that, yes, you see. So if that power is given to someone like Charlotte or Mina, they could quite easily say Jake's still in the game. Jake was definitely a traitor, and I think because of that, I think Joe's also a traitor associated with. No, I'm just saying they're associated with one another. Do you see what I mean? So that's what I was wondering, if that could be the power.
If it was a double vote, that would be disappointing because that's not extraordinary in my eyes.
But someone
maybe they can bring Yin back.
Yes.
You can bring one person back from the dead and speak to them.
And then they can't do...
They do their little thing.
Yeah, they do their thing at the end. But I think it might be something to do with getting a little bit of information that you get, but you cannot share it, but you can by your vote or by the way you're...
Or it might be take money for yourself.
Yeah.
You can take 10,000 from the pot if you want.
They love doing that, don't they? They love doing that. Take some money out of the pot.
Quite a few.
So there you go. Well, there we go. So
Joe will be like, yeah, I'll take it.
Turn left at a plane. Get myself a boozer. I hate being a teacher. I hate kids.
He's an EastEnders fan as well. So
is he?
Well, he said he'd be like a Peggy Mitchell. Get out of my pub.
Oh, he was just making a generic reference. Everyone knows that Peggy Mitchell was in EastEnders. That's a not a
Get out of
lifelong...
my club.
Yeah, he would say that as well.
That's what Nicola said.
Yeah.
Out of the brilliant restaurant the bar that they have.
What, Harry's Bar? This is EastEnders references.
Worst name in existence.
People outside the UK won't get these references.
A club called... Would you ever go? You don't live in the UK. Would you go to a bar?
You need to...
wine bar, which is called Harry's Bar, brackets, end brackets, barn,
Right.
No, you wouldn't.
And the reason it's called this is because her children are called Harry and Barney. Okay? For context.
Harry, do you want to go to Harry's Bar tonight?
We do this every time.
No.
Every time we watch it, it's like, oh, here we go. There's a scene in Harry's Bar. So anyway, do you watch EastEnders? But more importantly, what do you think this extraordinary power is that's going to be given to the players on next week's Traitors? Get in touch with us.
Got loads of time to get in touch with us now because apparently it's not an episode tomorrow.
No, there's not. And any other comments if you want to discuss the gameplay or the podcast or anything and everything. Anything and everything.
It's quite fascinating.
Yes. Go to our email, faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. You can comment underneath the video if you're watching us on YouTube. Just search Faithful to the Traitors podcast. Don't forget to follow, like, and ring the bell so you don't miss any future episodes. And subscribe. You can also subscribe on your favourite podcast apps as well. Don't forget we are doing the American series after the UK series, so keep tuned for that. We also do other international versions. You can find us on X @Traitors Podcast, on Instagram and Threads @Faithful to the Traitors, where you can DM us if you so wish. And if you enjoy listening to the podcast, please don't forget to give us 5 stars. Tell your friends, share us on your social media, or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/faithful, where you can give us a silver bar, and any comment you attach to that silver bar is guaranteed to be read out at the top of the show.
Even if your comment says you don't have to read this out or don't read this out, we're going to read it out.
Even if your comment says, I don't know why you're so mean to Joe. I think Joe's a great guy. And
Joe.
Yeah. Joe, if you want to give us a silver bar and just say we're nice about you.
Talking to Joe directly to camera. That's 2 episodes in a row you've done that now.
It's because I'm infatuated by the man.
I think this is time to leave. So we will see you all again next week for the final week of episodes. And remember, I love talking of the music now. Stay faithful.